tricky issue. What exactly happened today? What were the two contending sides saying?
I thought I told you yesterday that this is going to be a very tricky one. Because, this is to me, honestly speaking, this is a tough issue. It has nothing to do with efficiency criteria. It has nothing to do with gains from, better tax administration. This is just historical legacies playing it out and a bit of politics.
Well, actually, Hasib, when you say turf and not an efficiency issue, there may be a point when the finance minister probably argued with you. I don't know. You will have to tell me what is the centre's argument. But the banking, financial, insurance, mutual fund, all these sectors have been telling us at CNBC that they would prefer if they had a central, it was treated like an IGST item. Because they don't have to register with every state.
Anyway, IGST is out of this, so it doesn't matter. IGST is entirely with the central government. And I'm not blaming the center. In fact, I was trying to blame the states in this case.
Please explain.
So it's not about, what I'm saying, it's about turf issues. It's about lobbyism. It's about how you want to re-employ gainfully or ungainfully the existing lot of people that you have. The whole issue, there are two sets of things that will be done. One is, do you want to do a division of, and this relates to only audit and enforcement, because otherwise self-assessment. So there's no big thing happening there. It's only about audits and enforcement of these things. There can be either a horizontal or a vertical divide. Initially, it had been set by the Empowered Committee that below 1.5 crores, turnover should be exclusively with the state governments. The logic being very simply that these are small, want the union government's intervention of the CBEC into all this and may cause harassment. So that was really the kind of logic that had evolved over time. But when you brought a threshold of 20 lakhs, I don't know how many people, SSCs will remain in that. But states stuck to their position that this has to be either 1.5 or it was Kerala and West Bengal.
So at 1.5 crore, you think a deal will be reached?
It has not been able to reach. So it's not been possible to work out a deal with that kind of a thing.
Even with 1.5 crore, it was not possible.
1.5 crore, not possible. Then the other option is really of a vertical divide, that everybody gets everything in a ratio of 1/3, 2/3. Because the states have a larger stake, so they get 2/3 and center gets 1/3 of the audit assessment. So, and in all of this, the ISC actually stays out. The IGST stays out because that's interstate, and that is the exclusive domain of the center. So when you talk of insurance and of all those people, there are two aspects you must understand. One is that most of them are already registered with state governments.
Are already registered with the central government?
With state governments also. Because they are doing their businesses there. So it's not that they're not doing their businesses. They're selling their products, they're setting up their, telecoms are setting up their towers, they're doing all kinds of stuff and they're registered with it, with various state governments. It's not that it starts a whole new process. And second is that this all comes under IGST, which is exclusively under control of center. So that worry is a bit misplaced. Here you are really talking of who will control the small trader. And I think, this is what I said in the beginning, it's more about what is your turf and what kind of control you have. It's not about, because if, as was pointed out by somebody there, that it's a unified GST, to have exclusive control for one authority, I don't think is a thing. However, my suggestion has been consistently that we must now, this is the first federal institution of the country, in the form of new federalism, we must try and build a federal tax bureaucracy, which will report to the GST Council and do the tax administration.
Mr. Drabu, may I request you to just hold on for 30 seconds, and I would appreciate it if you could hold on, sir, because we've also got Mr. Thomas Isaac, the Finance Minister of Kerala, speaking to us. I'll come back to you in just a minute, sir, if you could hold on, please. Let's go across to the Kerala Finance Minister.
Finance Minister Thomas Isaac with me. Sir, it was a tough day, I believe, on the issue of dual control. What happened inside?
I think this was the toughest day of deliberations in the council. Issue was so simple. After having decided upon so many ideologically problematic issues like center-state relations or even ideological issues amicably. The council couldn't reach agreement on a very simple organizational matter. And if you understand the simplicity of the problem, you would laugh. Council had already decided that with respect to goods, states would handle all accounts below turnover of 1.5 crores. And above 1.5 crores, it will be a dual control system. States wanted this principle to be extended to services also, and the central government was not willing. Instead, even the case of goods, which was a settled case, was being reopened. It's essentially vested interest of the central bureaucracy. Central bureaucracy, I think, wants to extend the empire to the lowest rungs of India, every corner. They want a vertical division where they would also handling this 20 lakhs small fellow in one corner of Kerala, and state can accept that. So, well, after debating for a whole day, nobody was willing to give up the position. It was decided that the ministers again will meet on 20th to discuss. But I don't think most of the states are going to compromise on this position. For the simple fact, this horizontal division was a principle that has already been accepted. Secondly, this division would be more or less in proportion to the relative strength of the bureaucracy. Third, we don't want another central agency now to be extended to every corner, nook and corner of India. No.
So why did Centre go back on the settled case of goods? Because that was a decided thing, and again we are hearing that
everything has to be taken. At that time, Centre's position was services would be handled by them. But then new data emerged, which showed the Centre would be gaining much more than states relative to states. And the data provided for us regarding service was wrong. Instead of 11 lakh people, more than 30 lakh people are there in service providers. And therefore, the issue had to be reopened.
So now what is the case? Which all other states are along with you who want that autonomy should remain?
It's most of the states. I don't want to name the states that way. But even some of the more conservative position states also, nobody is happy with this position. And therefore, I think if it is not resolved amicably, it will be a big block towards future progress.
So when is the next meeting on dual control, sir?
Dual control, the meeting will be on 20th. Ministers will be meeting informally. Formal meeting is 24th, 25th.
Not 9th and 10th, sir? 9th and 10th meeting has been called off?
Yeah, because the draft law, it would take much more time to finalize it. And therefore, states need some time to study it.
Well, just as CNBC TV 18 has been reporting, there has been a deadlock on the issue of dual control. The meeting that was meant to take place on the 9th and 10th now no longer stands. There will be an informal meeting of ministers on the 20th of November, and the GST Council will meet again on the 24th and 25th of November. Our panel of experts with us, Mani, Hari and Prateek Jain. Hari, let me come to you first. This is what we were saying right through yesterday, that this was going to be the big sticky area, and the deadlock continues. How difficult do you believe it's going to be now to get everything stitched up for the winter session itself now? Forget the 1st of April, but for the winter session itself.
I mean, I'm not surprised, Shirin. If you remember, we were debating even yesterday. This is probably one of the most contentious issues, and the whole issue on who gets to administer services was an issue right from the last 2 days when we saw all those front page articles by all the state finance ministers. So this was expected. But what is even more of concern to me is the 9th and 10th meeting has been called off. From what we understood yesterday, the 9th and 10th was supposed to debate even on the law. So if 9th and 10th is called off, then I don't know how will we really meet the deadline of legislation in the winter session, because the next meeting, formal meeting, is expected to be only on 23rd and 24th, which means that also gets delayed. So this is unfortunately a little setback to the entire
Hari, if you can hold on. We've got the man from the GST Council itself, Hasib Prabhu. We were speaking with him just before we cut to the Kerala Finance Minister. Hasib, so now even the goods agreement of 1.5 crore is off, is it?
Yeah, it's not goods. That's how it was discussed in the Empowered Committee. That was the Empowered Committee recommendation, where there was no decision on services, but once the services was added to it, the states reacted. And that's how the consensus was broken.
Okay. Now, what Mr. Isaac tells us is that the meeting on 9th and 12th is cancelled, and now there's an informal meeting on 28th, but the real meeting is on 24th. So now the whole thing gets pushed back.
The 9th and 10th meeting was cancelled much before this, because yesterday we had expected, actually, yesterday was a good day, so...
you expected to wrap up?
Yeah. I think 24th is the meeting informally with the finance ministers only, and or the 20th, I think, and the 24th will be a formal meeting. It should be wrapped up. I think some more information comes in, but I think, as I said, it's not really about GST and all that. It's about how the states perceive. The real core issue is that will the CBEC set up offices and try and kind of quote unquote harass and get involved in.
So you think, how do you think a rapprochement will be reached, or an agreement will be reached? Will we see 1.5 crore being accepted by the centre? Is that your sense of the way forward? What is your sense of the way forward?
No, I would go back to the basic principles and say that if the unified kind of GST, then having a single authority control a segment does not really work. So we should look at a vertical distribution, which is more like on the lines of 75, 25, 2/3, 1/3. So I think that's how it should work, not based on a 1.5 turnover criteria.
No, can you explain further? What did you mean by 75-25?
Meaning then there's no horizontal demarcation.
Okay.
Right, the entire spectrum of SSEs, you divide them into a 1/3, 2/3 basis. That 2/3 of the cases will be done by the state governments and 1/3 of the cases will be done by the central government. That's how it should work, whether it's services, irrespective of goods, services, or whatever it is. Okay. So it's about the nature of the division. I would not honestly now support 1.5 turnover thing, because the data doesn't look very robust to me. I think once the exemption limit of 20 lakh comes in, there's very few assessments left. So I think it will be reworked on a slightly different model, and we should see some consensus emerge on this 2/3, 1/3 business. I think that's how it will pan out.
No, we are more worried from the financial sector standpoint. For an insurance company or for a mutual fund or for a bank, who is the assessing authority? Is it 30 assessing authorities?
No, it will be the central government, because that's outside the realm of all this.
Okay.
As it stands now, it would really be with central government. Yeah.
Mr. Dabu, sorry, just a quick question, because now the informal meeting is on the 20th of November, and then the GST Council will meet on the 24th and the 25th, sir. So that earlier deadline that the Finance Minister had put in place informally of November 20th to sort all the issues out, that no longer stands. Do you believe it is going to be a tough race to try and push this through in the winter session of Parliament if we don't see this issue being resolved?
I mean, having come so far, I don't see that this will be a deal breaker. I said that yesterday as well. I mean, one expected this to happen today, and I was pretty certain that there will be no consensus on this, because this really affects the bureaucracies and at different levels. So I don't think it will go beyond 24th. I do see a resolution of that. So we are It's a small setback, but not something that will break the deal, or we'll have to push things further than that. This is my sense of it.
Lata?
So I was just wanting to know, Mr. Mani, any questions you have, or do you think Hasib's explanation makes sense, that those that are anyway centrally administered, the larger units, the larger 1/3, if I'm right, Hasib, that's what you meant, the nationwide organizations will be registered with the center, and the smaller organizations will be statewide? Is that what you're proposing?
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Now, you have a concept of IGST,
Yes.
which is the interstate.
Yes.
That will remain with the center.
Okay.
And most of these will fall under that.
Okay.
So most of these will fall under that, particularly financial services banks. But in any case, I don't see a problem because they're already working with the state governments. Okay. It's not that they have worked with the state governments for the first time.
Okay.
And most of the banks are registered with state governments, and so are the telecom companies. These are two major areas of service tax. So I don't see that kind of apprehension being for real, that they'll get into a blast. I think it will work mostly with center and then marginal cases with the state government. But I think more clarity will emerge on this on the 24th.
Maybe I'll ask the tax experts to give their opinion or their question to you. Mr. Mani, does it look resolved now if things are sorted out the way Mr. Drabu is saying?
I would just say that possibly one way of looking at this is to say, irrespective of the mechanics of resolving the dual control issue, it could be 1.5 crore for goods, it could be 1.5 crore for services, it could be 1/3, 2/3. I would just say that from an industry perspective, what is very essential is that they are not subjected to dual control. They have to be subjected to a single control. Here again, what we need to keep in mind is that today, most of the manufacturers are subjected to dual control. They're subjected to a state for VAT and other taxes and a center. But service providers are largely controlled only by the center.
Okay.
Now, if at some point of time, therefore, we are going to have service providers subjected to multiple tax authorities, then we are going to take away some of the benefits of GST.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm wondering if we should take another question at all, Shireen, because please.
Can I just ask
please.
Mr. Mani that when he says that I will control, what is he referring to? Because we are referring to audit and enforcement.
Yes,
so
sir.
what is when he uses the word that we are under single control and we should not be subject to dual authority, what is his specific reference to?
Sir,
Audit?
this is essentially in respect of assessments and audit.
So audits really. But do you also realize that there is a cap of 5% of audit
Right.
in the thing itself? So where is this apprehension coming from? Because the 95% of this is self-assessment. So there is no authority, no control. Then you pick up and say 5% of the thing will be audited. Out of that 5%, 2/3 will be done by states, 1/3 will be done by center. It will be done by one authority. So, or whoever picks it up. So where is this notion? Because I'm not clear on what is your apprehension. Because Lata has been speaking to me yesterday. Also, she mentioned this. Where is I'm not able to see what your apprehension is, because it is very clear it will be operationally a single authority as far as you are concerned. It could be center, it could be state. What is it that is worrying you?
Sir, here the key question is that even today we have self-assessment in service tax, for instance, and despite the fact that we have self-assessment in service tax, there is a system of audits by multiple authorities even within the service tax framework.
Okay.
Now, consequently, self-assessment per se does not mean that there are no audits and there are no assessments.
Yes.
All that happens is there are financial thresholds in terms of what is the financial threshold which needs to be audited once a year, once in 3 years and once in 5 years.
Yes.
Now, if we are going to have a system in GST which is going to be similar to the present system, I think industry as a whole would want to know who is going to do the assessments and who is going to do the audits and what is going to be the periodicity.
Okay.
Is it going to be based on their turnover? Is there going to be a threshold prescribed for that?
Okay.
Because till now, no threshold has been prescribed for that.
Yeah, no, so that's a part of the rules. Okay, fine, fair enough. No, but my own sense is that you will sit under one authority, and it would be the cycles will be worked out. Okay, so fine, fair enough. I'm saying, but I don't see the I had seen differently in terms of excise or dual control. But as I said, that it will be only restricted to 5% of the total, and the cycle will try and has not been yet worked out. But it will be a single authority, and in most cases, most likely is the central government.
Okay, Mr. Mani has another question.
I have just one question.
But you know what, Mr. Mani, Jaitley has started speaking.
Council today, so far about 10 important issues which have come up for discussion have been resolved and a decision has been taken. This is one of the key remaining residuary issues, which is cross-empowerment. Now, the issue of cross-empowerment was discussed even in the third meeting. It was inconclusive, and the discussions carried on. They went on the whole day today. What is exactly the issue of cross-empowerment? I'd like to explain to you. You have multiple taxes at present, either administered by the state government or by the central government, which are now being integrated into one. So all taxes, the three of the important taxes are the VAT, which is administered by the state government, central excise, which is administered by the central government, service tax, which is administered by the central government, then some other smaller taxes, which are administered by either. Now, one of the objects of integrating these taxes is that there will be one tax across the country with one rate, and each assessee will have to face only one assessing officer. Because if he has to go to multiple assessing officers, the object of GST will be defeated. Now, this one assessing officer today, we have a huge manpower both in the central government and the state governments. So all the state taxation officers have to administer the tax. The central officers who are administering excise and service tax will also have to administer. So this is an administrative issue that functionally you can't have two competing assessing authorities or more than two assessing authorities competing for the same assessee, each trying to snatch that assessee into his own jurisdiction. And therefore this situation is to be avoided, and there have to be clearly defined guidelines as to who will assess whom. Now, given this situation, some members have even suggested that eventually there has to be a federal bureaucracy created by converging the two bureaucracies. But that's still a far cry. That's not something that can happen immediately. And that is why this becomes a very important issue which has to be resolved. You have multiple assessing officers, two different sets of bureaucracies, both administering one tax. And you want to smoothen the situation now by making sure that the assessee faces only one officer. And the assessment order that this one officer will pass, whether he is an officer of the center or the state, his office order will be binding on the other government also. This issue is extremely contentious because the consequences of this have still to work themselves out. And therefore, what is important is that there is a cross-empowerment coupled with defined jurisdictions. Cross-empowerment means an officer in the state will assess everyone, including for the purposes of central taxation once it converges into one, and a central officer can assess similarly all the taxes. A discussion spread over 2 days, one day earlier and one day today, has now led us to two different converging points of view. And those two different converging points of view are how to divide the assessee base. इसका सिंपल लैंग्वेज में मतलब ये है कि कौन किसको असेस करेगा, और ये पहले से ही तय हो जाए कि बाद में इसको लेकर कोई विवाद ना हो. How to divide the assessee base. Now there is one suggestion that it should be divided horizontally. And the reason is that today the VAT exemption limit some states have is 5 lakhs, some states have is 10 lakhs. Service tax assessment, the threshold limits begins at 10 lakhs. Central excise begins at 1.5 crores. But for GST, we have kept it at 20 lakhs. And therefore, the number of assessees itself in the initial stages will get reduced. In fact, popular calculations are, by fixing this 20 lakh base, you are only losing 2% of the revenue. In some states, they gave figures that it's actually loss of revenue of 1% or less. So a bulk of the assessees who are not revenue realizing assessees will go out, the small assessees. So one alternate view, one viewpoint which has been given is that you have a horizontal base cutoff, where 1.5 crores can be the cutoff base. That is, below 1.5 crore the states will look after, and above that it will be divided between the center and the states. The other is that the entire base could be vertically divided. These are two formulations which have come. The pros and cons of both the formulations have been discussed today. Now, since it is a very complex matter which is being resolved for the first time in this country, we don't want to rush through with a final answer, because the consequences of this are unforeseen. You can have neighboring shopkeepers being assessed by different authorities. And therefore, what will be the consequences of that? So all pros and cons have to be weighed. So we've completed a substantial part of the discussion today. Various proposals came. In fact, there were 5 proposals initially. The discussion is centered around these 2 principal proposals. And in order to resolve it, we will have an informal meeting of the ministers. Why I'm saying informal meeting? Because it will be without aides and officers, in order to find a political solution to this problem on the 20th of this month. And we will try and thrash out a solution on the 20th between these options, or maybe a hybrid option of this. But whatever option we have, we don't want to take it in a hurry, because this has to be a well thought out solution. Because administratively, any mistake on this front could be chaotic. So we are going slowly and systematically in this. After this informal meeting that we have on the 20th of only the ministers, we'll have a council meeting on the 24th and 25th of this month. जो मीटिंग हमने 9 और 10 तारीख को फिक्स की थी काउंसिल की, वो हमने अभी कैंसिल की है, इसलिए कि टुडे इज ऑलरेडी द 4th, and that meeting was intended for the draft legislations. Now, tomorrow onwards, there are 4 drafts to be prepared. It will be the CGST draft, the SGST draft, which will be similar, the IGST draft, and the compensation law. Now, these 4 drafts will be discussed by the officers from tomorrow onwards. The officers will try and finish a discussion on these drafts and finalize all the drafts by the 14th or the 15th of this month. Say by the 15th of this month. It will be sent to all the states. And the states will be given 1 week's time to suggest any changes or improvement in those drafts. और 24 और 25 तारीख की मीटिंग को these drafts will be approved, will come up for approval before the GST Council, because the Constitution Amendment says that these laws have to be passed by the Central Parliament and the state assemblies after they are approved by the GST Council. So the Parliament and the assemblies have to accept what the Council will pass. So 24th and 25th we will try and approve these drafts. And whatever consensus we reach on the 19th,
On the 20th.
on the 20th of this month, hopefully that we reach a consensus, that will also be handed over. That also consensus will come up on the 24th for then ratification before the council itself. That's where it stands at the moment.
So, sir, are you confident of IGST and CGST getting tabled and passed in the winter session?
You see, that's the effort. I'm endeavoring to do that because when in the month of August we had passed the Constitution Amendment, it looked too challenging because the time was very short. As of today, I am more confident than I was in August. Let me say this, because bulk of the spade work has been done. Most of the decisions have been taken. Only one key decision remains.
तो शायद आपके ध्यान में भी आपके कानों तक भी ये बात आई होगी, व्यापारियों के बीच जो चर्चा है कि अफसरों के बीच ये जो लड़ाई है ये केवल व्यापारियों को नोचने के लिए, उनको अपने हिस्से में लेने के लिए।
देखिए, ये अटकलें हैं क्योंकि जो सुझाव है उससे व्यापारी और ट्रेडर को इतनी सहूलियत हो जाएगी कि सारा असेसमेंट सिस्टम ऑनलाइन हो जाएगा। और एक सुझाव तो ये है कि जैसे इनकम टैक्स में होता है कि बेंगलोर में जो सेंट्रल मॉनिटरिंग की व्यवस्था है, सारी रिटर्न्स वहां जाती हैं, वहां कंप्यूटर इंडेक्सेस के बेस पे तय होता है किसकी स्क्रूटनी होनी है कि नहीं होनी, जिसमें कोई ह्यूमन इंटरैक्शन नहीं होता। उसी प्रकार से कस्टम्स की जितनी हैं रिटर्न्स वो मुंबई जाती हैं। There is no human face interaction. The computer will decide on basis of the alerts as to who is to be scrutinized or not. तो GSTN की जो व्यवस्था है उसमें सारी रिटर्न्स GSTN के पास जाएंगी और GSTN के पास जो अलर्ट्स होंगे उसके बेसिस पे वो सॉफ्टवेयर तय करेगा कौन सी स्क्रूटनी में जानी है। और केवल 5% केसेस हर साल स्क्रूटनी के लिए चुने जाएंगे। तो आज जो हर व्यापारी को अपने वैट के या एक्साइज के असेसमेंट के लिए जाना पड़ता है, एक बार ये सॉफ्टवेयर बेस्ड असेसमेंट हो गया तो उसमें केवल 5% को जाना पड़ेगा और सारा सॉफ्टवेयर बेस्ड होगा। तो ट्रेड को तो इससे बहुत सहूलियत आ जाएगी। कोशिश ये है और ये भी चर्चा का विषय है कि सिस्टम की व्यवस्था ऐसी हो कि जैसे इनकम टैक्स में आप रिटर्न फाइल करते हैं तो आपको मालूम नहीं है कि आपका असेसिंग ऑफिसर कौन है। अगर आप स्क्रूटनी में गए तो मालूम चलता है कि जिस व्यक्ति का चेहरा देखोगे वो असेसिंग ऑफिसर है। ये व्यवस्था भी उसी तरह की बनकर जाए। और ये जो दोनों व्यवस्थाएं हैं, हॉरिजॉन्टल और वर्टिकल डिवीजन, इसमें कौन बेहतर है इसको तय करने में ये भी एक क्राइटेरिया है कि फेसलेसनेस ऑफ द असेसिंग अथॉरिटी।
And also, was the discussion on both goods and services?
Yes. You see, it is integrated. because the council is now clearly of the opinion that this distinction can't be maintained. For instance, works contracts, construction contracts, restaurants, अब उसमें VAT भी है और सर्विस टैक्स कंपोनेंट भी है, अब उसको डिसइंटीग्रेट करना अपने आप में संभव नहीं है, तो इसलिए चर्चा कॉमन है. और वर्टिकल ये है कि you can fix a percentage, what percentage the state will assess and what percentage. So when you are talking in terms of division, you are only talking in terms really of those scrutiny cases. क्योंकि if you have the bulk of cases going to GSTN और उसमें से 5% select हुए तो केवल वही scrutiny basis पे आपके होंगे.
Sir, in your second meeting when you had, there was a broad consensus within the finance ministers on crossing parliament. Why is it got stuck again and now you have not been able to get consensus?
देखिए, उसके पीछे एक rationale था. And I can tell you, we are also learning as the discussion is evolving. पहले ये आया कि 1.5 करोड़ से नीचे वालों को केवल स्टेट्स में असेसमेंट होगा, गुड्स में. सर्विसेज में जो प्रेजेंट सर्विस टैक्स है, असेसीज हैं, वो सेंटर करेगा. Then some people raised an issue, and this was with substance. I'm not saying it was without substance. Is it possible to disintegrate the goods and services in many cases? So there are dozens of such economic activities where goods and services are integrated. So this distinction you are trying to make may not be physically possible, as I gave you just now 3 examples: works contracts, construction contracts, restaurants. उसमें goods में और services में demarcation करना मुश्किल है. So that is why the issue got revisited.
And you cannot give away that control of service tax to them?
No, it's not a matter of giving away control. I think the object of everyone is that limited cases which come up for scrutiny, the quality of assessment must go up, the efficiency of the tax system must go up, and the two services which are available both with the center and the state, there is to be an optimum utilization of that.
You have the resources.
What is the taxpayer base in terms of VAT, excise and service tax?
You see, it's been calculated, there are figures, we can give you the figures. The current base actually will get restructured, because the current base is on the basis of VAT being 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs threshold limit in the states, service tax being 10 lakhs, and central excise being 1.5 crores. Now this will have to be restructured keeping a common 20 lakh base in mind. So that base really will get substantially altered.
Sir, have the states asked for fresh data on the number of service tax assessees?
Yes, the states have wanted, and the GSTN has been updating the data. Okay. And the updated data has been circulated also. इस पे complete unanimity है. देखिए, ऐसा है कि I'm trying to find a solution between these views, so why should I commit myself to a solution?
When we talk about this question that's coming in from the state side, what is it that they're more keen on, a horizontal?
No. These are two views which have come from the states. There were 5 different proposals. We have now narrowed it down to a choice of these 2. Unless something else happens, then we consider an alternate proposal. So this will be considered in an informal meeting on the 19th itself.
So in terms of what you're saying, are we suggesting that there should not be any central type of horizontal on 1.5? For the vertical division, I mean, are we looking at no threshold at all, like, possible complete unification of scrutiny cases we decide?
नहीं, 20 लाख का थ्रेशोल्ड तो रहेगा ही ना. वो तो आज की तारीख में तो तय कर चुके हैं 20 लाख का थ्रेशोल्ड. नहीं, 20 लाख का थ्रेशोल्ड रहेगा.
सर, ये असेसमेंट में 5% केस के अलावा जो लोग रिटर्न फाइल नहीं कर रहे होंगे या अंडर रिटर्न फाइल कर रहे होंगे.
देखिए, जब आपके पास इतनी बड़ी ब्यूरोक्रेसी रहेगी तो नॉन फाइलर्स भी उसमें से स्वाभाविक रूप से डिटेक्ट होंगे.
उनका बंटवारा काम कर.
देखिए, इंटेलिजेंस बेस्ड और इंफॉर्मेशन बेस्ड एक्शन जो होगा उसका अधिकार राज्यों को भी होगा, केंद्र को भी होगा। वो कंकरेंट होगा। देखिए, आपने बेस तो बांट लिया, लेकिन मान लीजिए किसी राज्य को पता चलता है कि कोई आदमी इविजन कर रहा है, अब सीक्रेसी चाहिए, उसके ऊपर सर्च एक्शन चाहिए, अब उसके लिए वो पहले किसी से अनुमति लेने थोड़ी ना जाएगा। So which are violation cases which are based on intelligence and information, both will have concurrent jurisdiction.
So the other issue, sir, Indian Inc. has been saying that yesterday, of course, you were able to get that consensus 5, 12, 18, 28, and then a synthesis and everything. But can't we have just two, try to narrow it down to just two rates?
If there are two rates, it will be highly inflationary. It will be highly inflationary because कोई आदमी आज 7% टैक्स दे रहा है, उसको आप कहेगा 18% दो. Because the two rates look better than 4 rates. Just for optical reasons, I can't expect people to pay more.
And so also this proposal for the cess, will it come through the finance bill or this will be allowed under the GST?
There'll compensation act. There'll be a compensation bill.
There will be a third bill.
The compensation law will be, it's provided for in the, it's provided for separately in the Constitution Amendment itself.
Sir, have you decided to bring these bills as money bills or finance bills?
अब तो बिल ड्राफ्ट होगा तो जब 24 को अप्रूव होगा। वैसे अगर आपको कोई उदाहरण याद है कि टैक्सेशन बिल्स आए तो मुझे बता दीजिए, तो मैं फिर उन प्रेसिडेंट्स को यूज कर लूंगा।
डिजिटल इंडस्ट्री, केबल इंडस्ट्री वगैरह जो है या डीटीएच वगैरह, ये किस स्लैब?
अब वो कमेटी जो सेक्रेटरीज की है वो एक उसमें डालेगी।
और लॉयर्स प्रोफेशनल
ये जो अभी मुझे थोड़ी देर में ओआरओपी पे
That's the finance minister there. Well, trying to put on, a brave front today, but it has been a setback in the issue, over the issue of dual control. As we've been reporting, this was actually the contentious one, not so much on the issue of cess or even the finalization of the rate structure. But let's bring in our experts now, Mani, Hari, and we have a whole bunch sitting by with us, Prateek as well. Gentlemen, and Mani, let me start by asking you, we've now heard from the finance minister, and I don't know if you picked up on that, but the meeting on the 20th is only going to be a ministerial meeting, an informal ministerial meeting, minus officials and bureaucrats. So the suggestion at this point seems to be we need to arrive at a political solution and keep the bureaucracy out of it, because maybe that's where things are stuck today. Your first comments, Mani.
Shirin, the way I look at it, it is an excellent idea to achieve political consensus first and then get down to the fine print in terms of the detailing. I heard the finance minister saying that the objective was to meet people and achieve some kind of a political consensus and then get down to discussing the draft bill directly. So if the draft bill is going to be discussed on 24th and 25th, I would say that we have made a lot of progress, and if that is preceded by political consensus on this contentious issue, that's a very good way of going about cracking the problem.
Hari, quick comment from you. In terms of now this redrawing of the structure that the finance minister has spoken of, and the two options, the principal proposals that are on the table to try and address this issue and break the deadlock.
Shirin, the political decision becomes critical because we are talking of two bureaucracies, like you rightly mentioned, the state and center, both of which are large. And if you're going to do only a 5% assessment or scrutiny as what you see in other direct taxes, then you're talking of a much smaller number, and that's where the whole pain is, as to how do they politically align in a manner that both the bureaucracies are amply deployed, and that's the situation that they are facing, and that's precisely why there is this so-called turf war from an administrative perspective. Nonetheless, what I really did appreciate is that both the finance minister and the finance ministers who participated have been quite transparent in what transpired, so that augurs well, so that at least they will come to a solution, whether it's vertical or horizontal. that really doesn't matter. They will come to a solution. And now it's evident that the law will be taken up only on 23rd and 24th, which means the original schedule of bringing the law in the winter session earlier will probably get a bit delayed. It does not mean that April 1st is totally out of the picture, because the session, winter session, first part of the winter session goes on till mid of December.
Hari, yeah, but the finance minister there believes that they will still be able to push it through in the winter session of Parliament. As he said, that officials are going to start work on the draft legislation tomorrow itself, and that will then be brought for the approval of the GST Council on the 24th and 25th when the Council meets. Prateek, do you feel that that is perhaps a tad too ambitious, given the fact that we still don't have a resolution on dual control, even though the government believes that they will be able to thrash one out in that informal meeting on the 20th of November?
No, I just want to make one comment, Shireen. It seems that the earlier proposition that the service tax assessees will be completely controlled by the centre is no longer under consideration. So there are only two proposals which are under consideration, horizontal and vertical. Horizontal means less than 1.5 crore only states and above will be split between centre and state, and vertical means all assessees will be split. And it seems to me that that's in that sense a big concession the central government has actually made. And between these two options, it seems, I mean, my take is that they will perhaps, go towards the vertical sort of option, split rather than horizontal. Now, coming to the, winter session, I think it's still achievable. I think if 24th or 25th in that time frame, the council meeting happens, then still winter session is going to happen, continue in December as well. So I think April 117 is the realistic timeline still.
Gentlemen, hang in there. We've also got the Finance Minister of Assam, Mr. Hemanta Biswa Sarma, joining us on CNBC TV 18. So appreciate you joining us. It has been a setback today as far as the issue of dual control is concerned, with the GST Council meeting being inconclusive. There is an informal meeting now of only the finance ministers, or at least the ministers, on the 20th of November. Do you believe that a resolution can possibly be arrived at? Of the two proposals, which one do you support, sir?
No, I think today it was not a setback, because we all along knew that dual control issues will take some time. And in the bill itself, we don't have to include that clause, because bill will say that GST Council will evolve the cross-empowerment procedure. So this will not stop GST being on action from 1st April. But having said so, on 28th, we are reasonably sure that these issues will be resolved, because we almost today we were on the threshold of resolving that issue.
So where are things currently stuck now? So we've heard from the Kerala Finance Minister, we've heard from the Jammu and Kashmir Finance Minister, we just heard from the Central Finance Minister, the Union Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley. They're talking about the two proposals that finally the GST Council is going to have to decide on. Which one do you support, sir? And what seems to be the areas of convergence at this point in time within the Council?
I think this is not what I support and what my other colleague is supporting. The issue is now there are two proposals on table, that vertical division and horizontal division. So out of that two, I think we are capable enough of resolving this issue, because already we have resolved all the VAX issues, including the red structure, compensation, which were more tricky. We have resolved all these issues. So these issues will also be resolved on 28th, and I am pretty sure about that.
On those two proposals specifically, sir, on the vertical division and the horizontal division, is there a sense that you get on which proposal most states seem to lean toward or favor today?
No, I think when we started Empowered Committee, then idea was that there will be a horizontal division. But then on the first meeting, it was proposed that service tax will go to central government for the time being. Now, today, central government has said that service tax can be divided between the state and central. And after that, to an extent, many states feel that now it should be a vertical division on 2/3, 1/3 ratio, 2/3 with the state and 1/3 with the central government. But then there is another school of thought, below 1.5 crore, it should be absolutely state government, and if above 1.5, it should be 50-50 vertical division. So if you look both the proposal, 50-50 and horizontal division or a vertical division of 2/3, 1/3, the sum total result is the same. That between the state and central, you are dividing around 2/3 with the state and 1/3 with the central government. So the sum total is same. It is only a issue whether below 1.5 centre should be present or not. Some states feel that centre should not, and some other states strongly feel no. If there is a equitable distribution, then it should be, in proper sense, this should be equitable distribution. So this issue, I think, will be resolvable and will be resolved on 28th. The primary
would it be fair then, sir, for us to...
Shirin, the primary issue has not been resolved today because the GST model has been developed on consensus. Even if there is a one dissenting voice, we are not rushing through. So we are not playing the majority minority. We are even trying to persuade, even if a small one member has also some dissenting voice, we used to give time and we used to pursue or rather concede his viewpoint. So it is because that we are following a consensus model, that is why matter has been resolved up to 28th. Deferred up to 28th.
No, that I understand, sir, and that has been the approach of the government, that they don't want any matter to go down to a vote. They would like to arrive at consensus on most issues. But if I were to pick up on what you said, sir, would it be fair to assume then that more states seem to be in favor of the vertical proposal? Because you said that many states feel that it should be vertical. Would it be fair to assume that more states favor the vertical proposal?
I think the GST Council sitting as of now in a way that nobody is testing any majority. Because some finance minister in the first half, if he is saying something, second half, he is being persuaded to alter his views little bit. So if you say that which state in which side, it will be difficult to say, but ultimately I can assure you that Arun Jaitley's consensus politics will win, and central government being the guiding factor, and we are assisting central government in a spirit of cooperative federal regime. There will be no headcount will take place, and we'll achieve that in consensus mode.
Well, so far, the finance minister's consensus politics has certainly worked. But, sir, before I let you go, you know, Mr. Jaitley also spoke of some states asking for further data, and I think that had to do with the second proposal. Can you share with us what data states have asked for when it comes to the second proposal?
No, actually, the data point comes because if there is a vertical division, then you have to say, suppose 1.5 crore, how much the dealer base is. And suppose that dealer base is not very big, and it can be actually there is no point or no, actually there is no issue on conceding ground, then it could have. So basically one or two finance minister wanted to go through some data. What is the dealer of 0 to 20 lakhs, then 20 lakhs to 1.5 crore. So data required to achieve a consensus. But I can tell you with all confidence that this issue is not a major issue. We could have resolved it had we been sit another 30 minutes. But everybody has some issues. We were late. So it has been decided that on 28th we'll sit down informally, and we'll resolve this.
All right, sir. Thanks very much, Mr. Hemanta Biswa Sarma, the Finance Minister of Assam, there saying that he believes and feels very confident that the issue of dual control will be addressed in that informal meeting on the 20th of November. Thanks very much for your time. Let me go back across now to our panel of experts. Sachin also joins us now. But Mani, let me start by asking you, we've now heard from finance ministers of 3 states along with the Union Finance Minister, and this sense one gets is that it's unlikely to be a deal breaker and that perhaps there will be a resolution that will be arrived at on the 20th of November. On the back of what you've just heard so far, your key concerns and the road forward.
I would say, taking off from the fact that the rates were approved yesterday, and today we have been hearing that there has been a lot of discussion in terms of dual control. I would say that a lot of effort, in addition to working on the draft legislation, should also now move in terms of deciding what products what fall into what kind of a rate bucket. If these two issues are taken care of by 20th, and the finance minister also mentioned that they would typically get taken care of by the 15th of the month itself. If these are taken care of by 20th, and on 20th we have some kind of a political consensus emerging, we should certainly be seeing GST rolling ahead. As far as challenges are concerned, there are a few challenges that we need to keep in mind. One is the fact that GST should not be resulting in any kind of multiplicity of audits. It was reassuring to hear the finance minister stating again, I also saw it on the ticker just now, where he said that one SSC will be assessed only by one tax authority. Now, if that is ensured, that will be a welcome relief to all businesses who have in the past been fearing that they will be subjected to multiple tax authorities and multiple assessments and multiple audits. So that is to be avoided. The other point is everyone is now keenly waiting and watching in terms of what is the rate going to be applicable to them. Yesterday we heard a lot of discussion in terms of the rates that would be applicable to goods. Possibly some kind of a debate should also now happen in respect of the rates on services. Are we going to have a few services which are going to be at 12%? What kind of exempted services are going to continue? And what services are going to be taxed at 18%? Because bear in mind, for service sector, there is now going to be an increase in the tax rate, unlike the goods sector where largely it could be neutral or it could be a reduction. These are, I believe, some of the key concerns that we need to keep in mind as we move between now and the 24th of this month.
Gentlemen, just hang in there. We've also got with us Mr. K. Pandya-Rajan, the Education Minister of Tamil Nadu. He is, of course, the representative of the state in the GST Council. Mr. Pandya-Rajan, appreciate you joining us. Today, there has been a deadlock on the issue of dual control, but we've been speaking with the Kerala Finance Minister, the J&K Finance Minister, and just now we spoke with the Assam Finance Minister. They seem to believe that a resolution will be arrived at when that informal meeting of ministers takes place on the 20th of November. Do you feel as confident, sir?
Yeah, I feel we've made some substantial progress in the last 2 days of the GST Council meet. Especially one, we were presented this whole IT preparedness, Infosys, where they are, with this whole thing. The whole project run up to 1st of April 2017 got laid out in before that. Regarding the service tax aspect and the other key thing which could be a deal breaker, which is the nature of collecting the GST.
Sorry, you were talking about what could possibly be the deal breakers, Mr. Pandya-Rajan?
We've made some progress. They finally shared some data as to how many assessees are there in this country and how many will get out if we do a threshold of 20 lakhs and how many will be above 1.5 crores. This is the horizontal cutoff which all the states, almost all the states are seeking that, while center is talking about a vertical division where 70-30 or 6-33 kind of a model is being toyed about from them. Though 90% of the states have been arguing for a horizontal division. So 1.5 crores is taken as a cutoff for turnover, and below that the state has unique jurisdiction, and above that cross-empowerment happens. Okay, so this is what we will all be arguing. But the key attention went to another major issue, where out of 93 SSCs, almost 58% of them may actually be below 20 lakhs, the threshold of exemption, so to speak. So that data got presented today, and suddenly the picture of the number shrinking like this, while GST was meant to expand the base of taxation, I think it hit the group quite strongly. So the lots of attention went into that. So they've committed to share the data relating to how much is the revenue impact. The less than 20 lakhs, how much it is, 20 lakhs to 50 lakhs, which is the compounding level, and 50 lakhs to 2.5 crores, 1.5 crores, which would be that cutoff, horizontal cutoff, and above 1.5 crores, how much it is, which could give us better insight as to deploying the manpower fully. The manpower we have 2,72,000.
So are you, sir, are you in favor of the vertical proposal? Are you in favor of the horizontal proposal?
Horizontal. 90% of the states have expressed themselves in favor of the horizontal. And only some of the BJP states towards the end of the day started talking of vertical division with 2/3, 1/3, 2/3 in favor of the state and 1/3 in favor of the center, which is only 3 states, frankly, out of 31 of us. Okay, so, but even they said, let's look at the data and come back, because we push the center share the data more transparently. Like, we know 2,72,000 people are there in the states to collect money. And we believe less than a lakh of people are there in the central government, CGEC and whatever, put together. So we would, I mean, they also raised issues about the quality and the level of in both sides. Based on which I think this is...
Okay, that's an important point that you're making, Mr. Pandya-Rajan. You're saying that 90% of the states were in favor of the horizontal proposal and 3 BJP states supported the centre's proposal of a vertical division. Yeah. But Mr. Pandya-Rajan, let me ask you, sir, do you believe that on the 20th we could see this matter being resolved? Because that's the sense we got from some of the other finance ministers that we spoke to. Do you think there will be convergence on a horizontal division on the 20th?
I think so. I think the key to it, there are 2 things which need to be resolved at that time. One is whether there is a relook at threshold limits itself. And 2 will be this concomitant issue of horizontal versus vertical. And I think Centre may not have a choice other than coming around to the majority view in the council. Till now, we've never had to do a vote-based division. It has been consensual, and I think a consensus could emerge in the next few days, and Centre has committed to share a lot more of data. And for instance, if they do bring down the threshold, which raises the number of associates, which is what I think they should do, or they get us data about the IGST. You know, IGST, there is no threshold, okay, the interstate GST. So if that convinces us that the number of associates will remain or will fall very insignificantly from 93 lakhs, which is the associate base currently, then, you know, Centre themselves may see the reality that they have to go for the horizontal. Okay, so right now there's a belief that the associate base will shrink too soon. Okay. There will be only 24 lakhs with states and 14 lakhs with the Centre if you do a 1.5 crore based division. And that itself may change if they get the data related to the threshold. So, but I think either way, the sensible house is to move with this, not really create a bottleneck or whatever. So, and the other major thing which needs to happen for the 20th is fixing the products and services into the slabs. The slab structure has been agreed, and we will not do mechanical fitment. Fitment will be based on each item by item. That officials are working on it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Pandya-Rajan, appreciate you joining us with those details. That's the representative of Tamil Nadu in the GST Council, K. Pandya-Rajan, saying that 90% of the states converge on the issue of a horizontal division as opposed to what the centre seems to be pushing, which is the proposal of a vertical division. Let me get in comments. Prateek, let me start by asking you, on the back of what you've heard so far, it seems, if one goes by what Mr. Pandya-Rajan is saying, that the horizontal proposal is probably what they will have to converge towards.
I think, Shireen, it will be difficult. I think the whole horizontal proposal was discussed earlier on the back of the assumption that the services sector will go to the centre. And therefore, the centre said that probably that below 1.5 crores of goods, let's state administer it, and then they will administer the services, and the remaining will be split. But now, since services are also to be assessed by both, I think the centre is unlikely to agree for the horizontal split. I think vertical seems more feasible to me because you know that is simpler. That creates less confusion in the minds of the assessee. They know right from the beginning which is the authority which is going to assess. So I think there's going to be more debate on that, and center may not yield on the horizontal split readily, to my mind.
Okay, Hari, would you agree with Pratik? Do you believe that the centre is unlikely to yield ground? Because, you know, when we heard from the Assam finance minister, he said that most states were leaning towards a horizontal division. But then when we heard Mr. Pandya from Tamil Nadu, he said the opposite.
So the two views reflected, one non-BJP and one BJP. You know. So in my view, I think with services not being under the purview of centre, at least for the first few years, it looks more likely that centre will move towards a vertical kind of a split, you know, because I don't think horizontal will work, not if services not going to be in the purview of centre. You know. So irrespective of whatever the split is, I still believe they will come to a conclusion, a political conclusion on 20th and then followed by the council meeting. In my view, it's going to be still vertical, and as long as it's vertical and as long as there is only one authority who assesses or audits the SSC, that should be fine. And horizontal looks to be more
But did you
difficult,
get comfort on that? Because that was the point that Mani was making, Hari. You know, from what we heard from the finance minister, that we don't want to be faced with this business of assessees having to face multiple officers. At least you get comfort that the approach of the government, along with the states very clearly, is to be able to avoid any of that.
No, I agree. The comfort is definitely there. If the 5% scrutiny angle on a risk-based system, if there is only one audit and assessment authority, definitely will give a lot of comfort to the industry if that's how it's being thought through. So that's welcome move. Another thing which is important is that with the meeting getting shifted to the third week of November, one other advantage is that the working committee gets more time to get the law through, to make those changes in the law which are imperative by the 15th or 20th. You also got enough time for the Secretaries Committee to look through the rate baskets as to what falls under what. But what I'm really interested in knowing, and that is not coming forth from anyone, is in the interim, is there at all a forum for industry to interact as far as rate baskets are concerned? Because that's what everybody is asking. You know, is it going to be in isolation that they will decide the rate baskets and you will really come to know at some stage, or is there going to be a forum for industry to interact?
We'll try and get you an answer for that as well, but let me bring Sachin into the conversation. Sachin, on the issue of dual control and now what the road ahead looks like with those crucial meetings lined up on the 20th, the 24th and the 25th, what would you like to see happen?
Well, I think this is anticipated because, you know, earlier the understanding of making a kind of quid pro quo between the centre and state by agreeing to hand over exclusive control of administration below 1.5 crore to the state was on the assumption that the services will be continued to be exclusively handled by the central government. And in between there was news about state governments are not agreeable to the second part of the proposal. And therefore we expected that there would be some amount of renegotiation on this matter. The only thing which I can tell you is that having seen this difficult time and finally all the states and central come to a consensus, this issue will not be a deal breaker. It will get resolved eventually. The point is that as regards the taxpayers are concerned, they have only one expectation, to see that they should not be, drawn from different sides on the same transaction for assessment, adjudication, or audit, etc., by two different administrative authorities. Now, end of the day, the government has to ensure that the actual the tax due, GST due, is collected by the government, and that is what they are interested in. Now, it now seems to be